10 years. That's how long it's been since one of the most horrific police shootings in this country's history. November 2009, a man with a grudge against law enforcement walked into the Forza Coffee shop in Lakewood and gunned down these 4 officers. At the time, nothing like this had happened in the U.S. It tore families apart, and it also brought people together. It renewed a sense of vigilance to policing that made the department and the people of Washington stronger. Today, Pierce County's second largest city is thriving, but it will forever be scarred by what happened 10 years ago. On a Sunday morning, a convicted felon walked through the doors of this coffee shop and shot 4 officers to death. Chief Mike Zarro was assistant chief at the time and has been back here every anniversary.
How did you bring yourself to do it?
Well, the first time it was more about having a job to do.
He agreed to sit down with us in the coffee shop. It's since been renamed Blue Steel, and its walls pay tribute to the officers killed that day.
Absolutely no provocation. It was akin to somebody walking in and setting off a bomb.
On that day, we lost Sergeant Mark Renninger, Officer Greg Richards, Officer Tina Griswold, and Officer Ronald Owens. The day itself was bad enough. The weeks and months that followed were a complete fog.
You know, there was no roadmap to it. We didn't know, we couldn't say, okay, we just had 4 officers killed. Here's our next steps. Here's A, B, C, and D, because nobody had gone through that before.
I knew them well. I mean, I've worked with them since the day that they started.
Lieutenant Jeff Allwine was the first Lakewood officer on the scene. He's never talked about it publicly until now, and sat with me for the first time at the Fallen Officer Memorial in front of the department.
I felt like it wasn't real. It was not until after I walked out and realized that I needed to make some phone calls to the chief and the assistant chief, and I knew that I needed to activate things and get people moving, because we were in a horrific, tragic event that was going to require a ton of support.
The first call that was to your wife.
Yes.
Krista, his rock of 25 years, in good times and in bad. Why? How? There was anger, there was fear, and that wasn't unreasonable given an act that defied reason, an act that put so much strain on so many families. He credits her resilience for keeping him on track, helping him find a path to healing.
It is okay to admit that you're hurting, and it is okay to seek professional help.
And he did, on the first anniversary of the shooting. Instead of gathering with other officers to remember the fallen 4, he gathered the courage to ask for help.
I don't think I recognized how difficult it was. I feel like I just went back to work. Like, that was the best thing that I could do, is just get back to work. I went through a period of time where I questioned whether or not I wanted to keep doing this job.
But counseling was now part of the job. Routine maintenance, as he calls it, to keep his mind in check. Time has also helped, but it may never heal all the wounds here.
I don't know that I have truly gotten over it. But every day, every year that goes by, it gets a little easier. It is not in the forefront of my brain.
There's some people that, you just haven't healed yet, or haven't completely come to terms with it. There's some people that is still very much at the forefront of their motivation even to come to work.
For those involved in this tragedy, life will never be the same. For them, it's about finding peace.
I used to not be able to drive by the coffee shop at all. I would always avoid going that direction. I can drive by it now. I don't stop. No, I've never been back. I don't need to.
Photojournalist Ryan Beard there helping me out. The Lakewood 4 got a lot of attention, but the chief really characterized it as a season of loss. Seattle police officer Timothy Brenton killed on Halloween that year, the Lakewood 4 Thanksgiving weekend, and then Pierce County Deputy Kent Mundell a few days before Christmas. All of those events brought law enforcement closer together. A couple other notes, the shooter in the Lakewood 4 after a big manhunt was shot and killed a few days later. And we also have the annual Fallen Officer Food Drive coming up. They do every single year, and the community turns out huge for them. That is coming up on the 26th, just a couple days before.
The impact of that was so far-reaching. The Seattle Marathon was being run on that Sunday that it happened. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years.
It's like the city stopped. And
the state, I mean, all of us.
Right, everybody. And the families are still dealing with this.
I
talked with a couple members, one member, and she speaks with several other people. Nobody wanted to come on camera, and I understand that. They have nothing to gain from it. They're still frustrated. They're still waiting for closure. There were some prosecutorial missteps in this case. One person is still in jail awaiting trial next year, and that's what part 2 is going to focus on next week.
So legally still not wrapped up.
Right.
Unbelievable.
10 years later.
Great story.
Thanks.